Hey everyone, Mr. Dustin here. I have another fancy snack for you, and there's a Bible piece to this. Today we're going to make what's called Hamantaschen, and it's associated with the Jewish festival of Purim. It's a holiday that we'll talk about, and we'll talk about the biblical significance a little bit more later. But these are some of my favorite snacks. Very simple. You'll need cherry pie filling or your own favorite pie filling. It doesn't have to be cherry. I just like cherry. Then you can use pie crusts. Then you need some kind of something like this to be able to cut out a circle in your dough. And that's really about it. It's very simple, and I'll explain to you a little bit more about the biblical significance of this after we finish. So for now, we're going to go ahead and get into this. So I'm going to pop open my pie filling and make some of these, and we'll show you how that works. So these are very simple. I have got my pie crust and rolled it out after it came to room temperature so that it was malleable. And then I took my bowl, and I'll show you how this works, as a pie cutter, just kind of getting it right on the edge, pushed it down, twisted a little bit, and then these will come out in nice little circles like that. Now I've already got several here, you can see. We're just taking a nice dollop of the cherry pie filling. This is going to be glorious. Right in the middle of them. Then the idea of these is you're actually going to fold it into a triangle, which is kind of a trick. But kind of pinch one corner together like this. We're going to sort of make almost like if you think about a pirate's hat or a colonial type hat. Turns into this little triangle. And one of the things that we may have mentioned already is that the Hamantaschen literally are pocket cookies. Translate, Hamantaschen is pocket cookies. And I'll talk a little bit more about all of what the biblical significance means. In the meantime, I'm going to keep folding these, and I'm going to cut out some more dough, and then we'll come back and talk some more. So we've got all these folded up and ready to go, full of the pie filling. I'm very much excited about these, and we're going to bake them. Now, you bake them at 400 degrees. Pop these in the oven. For about 10 to 15 minutes, you're looking for them to be golden brown, so I'm going to start with 12. And while those cook, I wanted to explain to you the significance of the Hamantaschen. So the Hamantaschen comes from the story of Esther. You probably remember the main villain is a man called Haman. And Hamantaschen in the Hebrew, I think, is literally Oznai Haman. It means literally Haman's ears. I'm not real sure why Haman's ears, but there's a traditional story that goes with the Hamantaschen that says that they fold these up, and it's supposed to symbolize Haman's hat. Like we said, that colonial kind of hat shape is this triangular shape. And the idea is that we remember the victory of the Jews over the enemies of the Jews. And that comes from Haman was very upset with Mordecai because he'd been promoted to this royal position, and Mordecai the Jew refused to bow down to him. And he got the king's signet ring, and he plans that they would destroy the Jews in chapter 3. So Haman is described, it says he took the king's signet ring from his hand, gave it to Haman the Agagite, the son of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews. And he plans this day where all of the people are going to gather, and they're going to try to kill the Jews in the month of Adar. But unknowingly, that is going to cause Esther to be killed as well, the king's new and favorite wife. So Mordecai goes to Esther and says, you have to plead for us. Who knows but you've been put in such this royal position for such a time as this. Esther 4:14. And so she says, fast and pray with me for 3 days. And then she goes in and approaches the king and says, I want to have a banquet for you, and I want to invite Haman. Haman thinks, I'm so special. I get to go to this special dinner. Meanwhile, she's planning his execution. He just doesn't know it. So at the end of this feast, there's this decree, because it's been issued where they cannot change the rules, so they're still going to try to kill the Jews. But there's this decree that changes the Jews' circumstance to say, we can defend ourselves. So in the month of Adar, when the people are supposed to try to come and kill the Jews, they're allowed to defend themselves. And so we get to the end of the book on that day, and it's in chapter 9, and everybody actually gets to defend themselves, and they have this victory over the enemies of the Jews. And so they develop this holiday. It is a day for gladness and feasting as a holiday, and as a day on which they send gifts of food to one another. So these are just sort of a commemoration of the defeat of the enemy of the Jews, that on that day they got to celebrate, and they have these gifts of food on a feast day they call Purim. And so I think it's only fitting that we make these while we're in quarantine. Let me read this. This is chapter 9. We're going to start in verse 22. As the days on which the Jews got relief from their enemies, they're celebrating Purim. And as the month that had been turned for them from sorrow into gladness, and from mourning into holiday, that they should make them days of feasting and gladness, days for sending gifts of food to one another and gifts to the poor. And so, on that day, they celebrate and they make these feasts and these fabulous meals. And so today, we're making these Hamantaschen as a remembrance of the same thing, the defeat of the enemy of the Jews. And Haman was that primary villain, so these pocket cookies, these Hamantaschen that look like Haman's hat, are just kind of a commemoration of the victory of the Jews. So that's what these are all about, and they're a tasty snack. So I hope you enjoy them. They should be getting done soon, and I'll show you what they look like when they're finished. All right. These are almost done. I think we've actually gone for about 18 minutes now, but I'm very excited. You can smell them in the air. I'm super excited. These are going to be good. Oh, yeah. As you can see, they are basically little triangular shaped cherry pies, and as such, if you're into this sort of thing, they're also very good a la mode. So, I present to you Hamantaschen, Haman's ear. So, enjoy, and we'll see you next time.